There's a lot of people right now talking about Dragonsplague, and I think that they are alarming people a little bit more than it should. Dragonsplague, it's a cool mechanic, but by no means it's something like that huge or that terrifying as people make it be, whatever the case might be. I'm here to give you some ways that you can avoid Dragonplague, and if you can't avoid Dragonplague, don't worry, you're not going to mess up your save file, which like many people have been saying out there. It really is not that huge of a deal. Like, there's many ways of dealing with the Dragonsplague once you have already gotten the Dragonsplague and you didn't actually manage to stop it. So first and foremost, what is the Dragonsplague? Well, the Dragonsplague is a disease, a illness that your pawns will catch while being on the rift that is going to cause them to go on a rampage and kill every single last person in one single town, depending on the town that you are resting at an inn. So yeah, it sounds kind of dreadful, but in reality it isn't that much, not that much at least. That being said, how do I recognize the Dragonsplague? Well, the Dragonsplague, you're going to recognize it physically with your pawn, because they are, well, the pawn that has the Dragonsplague is going to have red eyes. One more thing that you can do to recognize the Dragonsplague, and I think that this is the most obvious, and I think that this is something that you should be doing at all times, is giving commands to your pawns. When your pawn has, some of your pawns have Dragonsplague, they will actively say, I will not hear your commands, I will not heed your commands. One more thing that they can do is that they get too sleepy, but this is easily confounded, because sometimes they just use their stamina, and you might think that they have the Dragonsplague and immediately kill them. And no, you shouldn't you shouldn't be killing your pawns, your favorite pawns, just because you see them resting on the middle of the battlefield because they use their entire stamina. So I'd say that the most efficient way to realize if your pawn has Dragonsplague is just give them an order. Tell them to wait. So for example, we are right here, I tell them to wait. Whenever I tell my pawns to wait, they are going to, for example, here, there we go, they are going to stay there, the three of them. If one of them doesn't, then you're in a big issue. What is it that you have to do once you manage to recognize that you have a pawn with a Dragonsplague on your crew? Kill the entire crew. Like, that's quite literally everything that you have to do, because the Dragonplague is contagious between pawns. So if one of your pawns had the Dragonsplague and he has been spending quite a lot of time with the rest of the pawns, then there's the chance that the rest of your pawns are going to have the Dragonsplague as well. Your main pawn, you can get him real back at your rift zone. The best way to kill the pawns is to toss them into water areas, water surfaces, for them to be carried away by the... I can't remember the name of that thing right now, but that little demon that's on the air, that's on the water, like that little demon, he's going to take away the pawns. Now, when you go back your pawns, you do have a history of pawns. Maybe you're fond of the pawns that you just killed. Do not resummon the pawns that you just killed, because the Dragonsplague is based on the base pawn world. So if you summon them while they were on Dragonsplague, if the other reason hasn't killed his pawn and he hasn't dealt with the curse, the Dragonsplague of that pawn, there's no way for you to know for sure. So just pick up new pawns. Despite that you like them, the ones that you have been traveling with, just take care of them. Now, the most terrible thing happened, and the Dragonsplague triggered on your main town, on a town, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do a major quest in there. I can't do my major quest in there because of that, so my save file is effed. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's the Eternal Wakestone that you can get by killing the Sphinx. That is going to revive, resuscitate people in a huge, large area. And yes, this can... You do have to pinpoint it a little bit. So for example, if we are on Burnsword right now, you would have to be standing right here on the Port Crystal, or even a little bit more in here, because you also have to have in mind the castle, which is just right here. So this would be like the ideal, or maybe the Diviner Saloon. this would be the main place that you would use the Eternal Wakestone that is going to revive everything, everyone on Burnworth. Now that being said, you kill the Sphinx, you don't have, or the Sphinx fly away, you don't have the stone. So is my save file still effed? Not necessarily. Do not alarm either. There's nothing wrong with that. You can come into the Cardinal House, the mortuary right here, and this is where you can find the NPCs that you need. Now, have this in mind. One very important thing is that it doesn't matter if the Dragonsplague completely wiped out the entire city. It doesn't really matter. All of the non-important NPCs, including vendors, they are going to be replaced by someone else. The only NPCs that are not going to be replaced by someone else are unique NPCs. What do I mean by unique NPCs? Quest givers. Anyone that is going to give you a quest. And yes, it doesn't matter the blacksmith, the armorsmith, the apothecary, all of them are going to be replaced by somebody else, somebody new, so you don't really have to worry about them. And even if they, for some reason, which it shouldn't, it didn't for me, actually, I've had the Dragonsplague twice, the city gets immediately crowded back again. The only problem is that you're not going to be able to continue some quests. What are some things that you might be stripped away, like the Dwarven Blacksmith? Those are special NPCs, but you know who they are. Or for example, Captain Bernmal and Sven, the Regent King. Those are NPCs that you need to continue the quest for, of the main quest of the game. So if you can't interact with them, you are going to miss some portions of the game. If you have already finished their quest line, that you don't really need to care about them, because once you have finished, for example, once you have finished the arc of Burnworth right here, and you have completed the quest of the main captain in here, once you move over to Bagbethal, this is not going to matter anymore, so you don't really have to worry about this. Although on the endgame they do make appearances. The quests at the endgame, they are not mandatory. You don't have to do them. If you want to do them, then that's fine. That's nice. But if you don't have to do them. Now, let's say that you're seeing online a quest that you missed. Some quest that you want to do, some romance that you have to do, and you can't find the NPC because he probably died. Then all you have to do is just come here to the Cardinal House, and this is where you're going to find, as you can see right here, I have used a Eternal Wakestone in here, but many of my NPCs that I don't think that they are important, at least not to me, you will find them in here. And you can revive them in here on the morgue. So you can just light a candle to mark his coffin, and then you go down there, you find his corpse, and then you revive that NPC that you're looking for, and then you don't really need to worry about this anymore. Now granted, that is going to cost me a Wakestone, which then again, Wakestones are not as rare in Dragon's Dogma 2 as they were on Dragon's Dogma 1, and as a matter of fact, there's this little item which you can find like in quite literally a whole lot of places of the world. This is the Dragon's Gaze, and this is not a single-use item. This is going to pinpoint you the location of the Wakestones that you have on the map. So whenever I use it, it's going to add the Wakestone shard locations on the map, which, as you can see right here, I can just immediately go and pick them up right here and start gathering Wakestones for those NPCs that I do need to complete a quest, a side quest, or one of the Dwarven Blacksmiths. So as you can see, it really is not that huge of a deal. Even if a major NPC for a main quest line dies, you can just revive them at the morgue, even if you didn't have like the, let's say that you don't have the Wakestone shard at that time, and then you can just go out there in the world, explore, and you don't really have to revive everyone. As a matter of fact, if I'm being honest with you, I wished that for me, the entire city remained dead, because then I wouldn't have to worry about the FPS issue. So I was thinking, maybe I'm not going to use my Wakestone, because still I am going to like get a major boost in FPS. No, the fillers are always going to be there, and that includes merchants. So that is everything that you need to know about Dragonsplague. Don't be too worried about it. And if you were unlucky and you suffered the Dragonsplague, do not be alarmed about everything. It's just floating out in the internet. You have like different kind of things that you can do to to continue your game, your playthrough without issues. If you like the content, like and very super appreciate it, and also there you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a lovely, lovely day, and goodbye.